Our
Let's do it.
schmoozing with Brad.
I had a delay there. I thought you say schmoozing with Brad, but maybe I say schmoozing with Brad. A very interesting study came out that I wanted to talk about with guns and immigration. When you think guns and immigration, you think, oh, there's an immigrant and he's, possession of a gun, they're committing crimes, they're shooting people. That's not what I want to talk about, because that's the only thing that people think about when you think about guns and immigration, right? Mm-hmm. You don't really think about guns and immigration another way. And it all came up. I started reading about this when Vice President Kamala Harris was visiting Guatemala and Mexico to meet the local leaders and to help address the root causes of undocumented migration. People, migrating up from Central America through Mexico, running across the border without inspection, those without visas. Now, the agenda on Kamala Harris's trip was economic development of Guatemala, of Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico. We even talked a little bit about it the other day. Nesquik and Yo-Yo was kind of agreeing, food insecurity, housing insecurity, strengthening the rule of law in many of these Central American countries, as well as Mexico. When they're leaving these countries, their ultimate destination is the United States. Mm-hmm. Now, we've talked about in the past, this is all going to come full circle, 1 second. We talked about in the past how also people are leaving because of violence, right, Nesquik? We said there's violence everywhere, but we were talking about El Salvador, Nicaragua, being more of a violent countries, Guatemala more economic insecurity. Now, according to Doctors Without Borders, 62% of people who arrive at the Mexican-United States border to either apply for asylum or try to sneak in without inspection say that they have experienced violence in their lives in the last 2 years. That's 6 out of 10 people. What's interesting is that 3/4 of families with kids arriving at the border, 75%, 3 out of 4, say they're leaving their countries because of violence, including forced recruitment by gangs, which was a key reason for leaving. Now, where does this all come back to guns? 70% of all the firearms seized by law enforcement in Mexico, 42% of the firearms seized in Guatemala were purchased in the United States of America. So here we have a situation where people are leaving violent countries, being forced to be recruited by gangs, and yet the violence is coming from guns purchased in America, smuggled down through Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua. People are terrified. They leave because of the violence, and then they come to the border, and then the United States has to hire men with shields and badges with guns to stop them from coming in. Now, the flow of guns into Central America, it's known as the Iron River, and it's vast. According to Mexican Foreign Ministry, 200,000 guns are trafficked from the United States into Mexico each year. 500 illegal guns purchased in America, most likely legally, smuggled into Mexico illegally. Now, United States doesn't publish each day. 500.
Yes, each day, 500 each day.
Legally purchased, smuggled across the border. Now, the United States doesn't publish any of these statistics. And although gun smuggling did not really hit the news in terms of Vice President Kamala Harris's agenda, a spokesperson for the State Department did tell CNN that the State Department is committed to working with Mexico to reduce the amount of illicit firearms. BS. Nobody's doing anything about guns. Nobody is doing anything about guns.
It's not a priority for them.
Yeah. Adam Isaacson, Director for Defense Oversight at the Washington Office for Latin America, a research and advocacy organization based in the United States, says he believes that the fiercely debated issue of gun control in the United States is one of the main reasons why leaders spend little time on the issue of guns being trafficked abroad. Okay? So nobody is going to say stand up for gun control and then say, I'm going to stand up for gun control because I'm worried about violence in another country. We can't even get gun control for violence in America.
Right.
But it's the violence of legal guns purchased in America, smuggled across the border, that scares migrants to come to the border, that we have to spend billions of dollars building walls, hiring guys with shields, scaring the hell out of everybody, making them feel unwelcome, and sticking a gun in their face saying you can't come.
Right. That just, when you say it out loud like that, it like all comes full circle.
It's full circle. Now, another reason is that most gun regulations, they're different from state to state. And federal officials responsible for foreign policy, international relations, they don't have any influence on what states sell to who and when. Some states are very lax gun control, other states much different. So let's talk about gun violence here in America. Okay, mass shootings and gun violence took the lives of 16 people last weekend, 40 wounded across the United States last weekend, Saturday and Sunday, in 2 days. 5 people were killed in a weekend of violence in Chicago. 8 people were killed in mass shootings in Oregon, Indiana, Utah, Michigan. A high school student was killed in New Jersey, all with guns. 8 people were wounded at a graduation party in Cleveland. In Miami on Sunday, right where you are, Nesquik, 2 cars pulled up to a graduation party around 2 a.m., opened fire on a crowd in a parking lot as people were leaving. 3 people dead, 5 injured.
Yeah.
Miami-Dade Police Director Freddie Ramirez said this is extremely frustrating. Every weekend, same thing. Now, more than 8,600 people have died from gun violence in the United States this year, according to the Gun Violence Archive, with over 260 mass shootings. In May alone, gun violence is up 23%. So people pass gun control laws. Well, there was a gun control law that was passed in California, banned people from having an assault weapon. Okay, what does anybody need an assault weapon for? That you could shoot 20, 30, 40 rounds in several seconds, multiple shots. Who are you hunting with this? Okay, you don't need 40 bullets in 6 seconds to hunt Bambi. You don't need
that part.
Right? You don't need 40 bullets in 6 seconds to protect your house. So,
I feel like people just like what they like. People like what they like, even if they're things that they don't need. I feel like I didn't have as many like firearm conversations until I moved down here to Florida. Some people just really, they like what they like. Like the conversation of guns is just so casual. But do you guys feel at whatever point in time there's a way to have restrictions on what kind of firearm folks can purchase? I don't know if that'll become a thing ever.
In terms of the assault weapons, California, let me give you this example. California passed a bill, no assault weapons. Seems pretty reasonable, right? Well, that law was overturned this week when a federal judge said that the assault weapons ban is illegal. In his ruling, he wrote, like the Swiss Army knife, the popular AR-15 rifle is a perfect combination of home defense weapon and homeland defense equipment. Good for both home and battle. Huh? An AR-15 is like a Swiss Army knife. That's what he put in his decision.
No, it's not.
Governor Gavin Newsom said in a statement that the comparison, and I'm quoting Governor Newsom, completely undermines the credibility of his decision and is a slap in the face to the families who've lost loved ones to this weapon. He called the AR-15 a direct threat to public safety and the lives of innocent Californians, period. Attorney General Bonta called the ruling flawed, said it's going to be appealed. But that's just what happened in California. In Texas, this past week, the legislature passed a bill allowing Texans to carry handguns without having a license or any training.
Oh, wow.
This even as law enforcement groups vocally opposed the measure. Texas Governor Greg Abbott claimed that the bill was the strongest Second Amendment legislation in Texas history. This was the Texas lawmakers' first gathering since 2019, when 30 people were killed and dozens more injured in back-to-back mass shootings in El Paso. Now, the tragedies back in 2019 moved many of the Republican leaders in Texas to express uncharacteristic openness to gun control. At the time, Governor Abbott, who just praised this new bill that you can carry a gun without a license or any training whatsoever, he swore back then in 2019, we're going to do everything we can, I'm quoting him, to make sure a crime like this does not happen again, proposing a slew of policies to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. The lieutenant governor of Texas at the time famously said he was willing to take a bullet from the National Rifle Association in order to pursue stronger background check laws. Well, 2 years later, they did the actual opposite. The actual opposite. Now, you know, what's frustrating is that it's not even talked about. It's not discussed, which is why we're discussing it here. Current law requires Texans to be licensed to carry handguns openly or concealed. Applicants have to submit fingerprints, complete 4 to 6 hours of training, and pass a written exam. Now, just go buy a gun. And you don't think that these people from across the border are going to come buy guns, smuggle them back to Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador? What about the DR where you are? Nesquik, where you're from. Not you are, but where you're from. What about Jamaica, where a lot of our squad's from?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, 3/4 of Texans are against this, yet it still passes because the Republicans control Congress in Texas.
Golly.
Okay? So when people say, my country's dangerous, it's dangerous to be where I am, I have to leave, who's making it dangerous? I would argue, based on what I just talked about, who's making it dangerous is us Americans. Making other countries dangerous by allowing people to come here, buy guns, not only making our country dangerous, making other people's countries dangerous. You can buy a gun in Texas now without anything. No license, no training, nothing.
No training.
Nothing.
That's wild. No
So
license,
if
no
you don't need
training.
the license and you don't need training, you don't need ID. Just go buy a gun. Buy as many as you want. Go buy 30, go buy 50, go buy 100.
That's crazy.
And then brought to other countries become dangerous. Not that they weren't dangerous before, but
Right.
you know, how dangerous can you get with a knife in your fist? Okay, you know, so these guns, we just read the statistics. More than 50% of all the guns in Central America and Mexico are bought legally in America and brought across the border. And then everybody's leaving their countries because of the violence, comes up here and gets stopped at the border by other Americans with guns pointing it at them and a big wall. It's crazy. If you think about the irony and craziness of all of that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a 30-year-old mother in El Paso, Texas, she was arrested this week after posing as her daughter at a Texas middle school. She says she did it for better security. Casey Garcia, this is a crazy story. She's 4 feet 11 inches tall. She weighs 105 pounds. And she was arrested on 1 count of criminal trespass and tampering with government records in El Paso. Deputies were notified Tuesday by San Elizario Independent School District that Garcia trespassed on the school grounds and posed as a student. In a YouTube video titled "Why I Posed as My 13-Year-Old Daughter, a Raw But Real Answer," she says she dyed her hair, used skin tanner, and posed as her daughter. Garcia said that after she was asked for her ID at the school and whether she had signed in, she was allowed inside the school. She said school staff was more concerned about her phone being out than who she really was. She says, quote, "I bet you anything someone else can do this. This is why I did this, whether you agree with me or not." She later says, "I think the deal breaker for me was actually walking in and posing as a 7th grader. I mean, I'm no spring chicken, but it wasn't hard. And I made it all through all 7 periods."
Damn.
She
Wow.
went through
So
entire.
TikTok.
She doesn't look. She looks 30. She looks 40 to me. Okay, but she certainly doesn't look like 13. Okay,
With the makeup and the outfits,
she made it
Right.
through 7 periods of class the entire school day. Nobody asked who she was, sitting in the class posing as a 13-year-old.
that's horrible.
Finally, at the last period, after the class was over, last period of the day, one of the teachers asked her, "Hey, Julie, can you stay after class?" And she said, "Absolutely." And then the teacher looked at her and she said, "You're not Julie." Finally somebody. So, she was able to get away with it because all the students had to wear masks over their face too.
Right.
Right. All right. So when they found out she was not Julie and she was Julie's mother, that's when the police came. And she said she was doing it to prove a point about the lax security in the schools.
But I feel
Well,
like
she
she did
proved it.
prove.
And we have a little bit of her video. Let's watch a little bit of her video.
Okay, and then. Uh-oh. Hello.
All right, maybe she can pose like as a 13-year-old. She looked more 13 there. Let's talk a little bit about COVID. And there's a problem with traveling now. And the problem with traveling is that the airlines are saying there's a lot of fake certificates being submitted to the airlines that people are COVID negative when they're not, especially when you're flying international. Flying domestic here in the United States, you don't need to prove, that you have a negative COVID test. But flying from other countries into the United States, you do. And now many in the airline industry are saying that they're being bombarded with fake documents, and it's now up to an untrained airline employee to determine what's a real document and what's not a real document. And I can tell you, as an immigration attorney, forging a COVID certificate's got to be, I've seen people forge passports, and they look pretty good. And they get through immigration. So, to me, forging a COVID certificate's nothing. So, airlines that cross borders, they're very concerned, saying their staff, as I said, are not equipped to handle and police all the new health certificates. So, they're pushing for a digital health pass that people can store vaccine certificates and the results of their COVID-19 tests and antibody tests and make it easier to track the veracity of their documents. Here in New York, they have something, I don't know if you downloaded it, Jonathan, the Excelsior Pass. So if you took a COVID test in New York State, I took a vaccination in New York State, you can download an Excelsior Pass with a QR code on your phone rather than walk around with your paper card. And that QR code allows you into various venues. For example, the Barclays Center for the Nets NBA playoff games were only allowing you would have to have that.
I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, so you have to download it on the you have to go to Excelsior on the website. I downloaded it. Now a lot of people don't like this. So this is the problem. Because they don't want the government to have their personal data. They don't want the government to know more about them. But to me, government already has your personal data.
If you have a phone.
You have a phone, you have a driver's license, you got a passport. They got your data. Okay, Big Brother knows everything about you already.
Everything.
So I'm like, what are they going to know about me that they already don't know? I'm happy.
I'm not worried about that.
I'm not worried about that at all. So the airlines want to do the same thing. They want people to have QR codes. You could still hack into apps but I would assume it's going to be much more difficult than giving a piece of paper that says, you're COVID negative or you've had the vaccine. A lot of states, a lot of Republicans, they're against it. They're against having this pass.
I'm not against it.
I could care less. I'm like, to me, the government already knows everything about me anyway. What's the difference?
Right.
I got nothing to hide. What do you think, Vanessa? Would you download it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to get vaccinated first, but I would download it. Yeah, if it's an easier way to get in and out of places without being complicated, this is just like the world we're transitioning into. So
yeah, look, I have mine. It doesn't really say much. You can come closer. This is mine. Whoop. There we go. Yeah. What does it say? It says my name. It says I was vaccinated, and it's good until my date of birth. So everybody has to know how old I am. And I'm okay and it says it expires March 9th, 2022. I have no problem with that.
People overthink new things and new concepts and new rules. Like, they already know everything.
Yeah. Now, Himmel Clark says he has the Excelsior Pass, and it does have an expiration date. We'll see what happens with that expiration date, because nobody even knows how long these vaccines are going to last in your body.
Right.
You know, we don't know when, you know, maybe they're good for 10 years, you know, and then all of a sudden the pass will change. I don't know. We don't know the answers to that. We got to get to some wacky news, though. Let's get to some wacky news. All right, so the world's first floating transparent pool is opening in London, England. Who wants to swim in this thing? It's called the Sky Pool. It's suspended 115 feet above the street, and it stretches between the 10th floors of two buildings in the Nine Elms neighborhood in southwest London.
That looks crazy.
They built a pool, and it's between two buildings. That looks very crazy.
Cool.
That looks like a cool pool. Now, it's only open to residents. This is a residential building. It's only open to residents who live in the building. It holds 50 tons of water, features a rooftop bar and spa, provides the ultimate sky-high package for members. It was built by structural engineers Eckersley O'Callaghan. Announcing the launch of the project, Embassy Gardens shared an Instagram post boasting about how the pool is filled with 148,000 liters of water and allows swimmers to float 35 meters in the air between two residential buildings. 35 meters is how many feet? It's about 170, it's about 110 feet, 120 feet up in the air. It's about 12 stories up.
Oof.
That's scary.
Would you do that? Would you? That's a pretty good selling point for that building, huh?
It is. I think that's pretty awesome.
I think that's kind of cool.
I would do it.
I would do it. I would do it too.
Yeah.
Until somebody does a cannonball, breaks the bottom, and we all go right down.
Well, why'd you have to do that? I just wanted to maybe cannonball or just flow. And then say things. Kills the vibe, Brad.
Meanwhile,
it definitely did.
I was just thinking somebody could drop something on the bottom, go do a cannonball, break it, and everyone just goes crashing through. No,
that'd be a crazy lawsuit.
Because it's glass. I mean, you got to see on the bottom or plastic or something, right? It's not like steel. Right. I don't know.
Sure, engineers got it.
I'm sure they do. Meanwhile, the fishing crew, you mentioned this at the top of the show. I was curious what the fishing crew got in Yemen, because I don't read this wacky news ahead of time. They landed a rare 280-pound chunk of whale vomit. Huh?
What?
Wait,
what does Scooby-Doo say, Yo-Yo?
Is that good?
Yeah, right. So I'm supposed to say, they landed a rare 280-pound chunk of whale vomit. Exactly.
What's the whale vomit?
I don't even know what this is. I don't know. I got to keep reading.
How is it worth the 1.5 mil, though?
I don't know. A 35-person fishing crew captured a sperm whale's carcass while fishing in the Gulf of Aden. Due to the overpowering scent of fecal matter, they determined that the corpse likely contained what's known as ambergris. The pungent, waxy substance is produced in the intestines of sperm whales. Ironically, it's historically been used in perfumes as it contains an odorless alcohol that makes fragrances last longer. But ambergris is so rare and therefore so extremely valuable that perfumers now usually use synthetic replicas of the naturally occurring alcohol. When the crew cut into the belly of the whale, they uncovered a big chunk of the floating gold. The men sold the odorous glob off to someone in the UAE for $1.5 million.
That's crazy.
You know, when UAE, that's Dubai, they're very well known for making perfumes and fragrances, you know, not like manufactured in a just a guy sitting around making perfumes and selling them as individual bottles, not like a big manufacturing plant. So I could see somebody in Dubai
buying that.
Oh yeah.
Ode to whale vomit. Would you like a little tester of ode to whale vomit?
Not ode to whale vomit.
Ode to whale vomit. Not ode. Yeah, right? What do they? How do they say it? Ew, yeah, how do they? Ew. Yes. Now, it's illegal. By the way, it's illegal in the United States.
Ah.
Yeah, it's illegal. Oh. Yeah, because people, I guess, were trying to kill whales to get this scent.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the people from Yemen, if they wanted to, they can invest in Hong Kong parking spaces. Not parking lots, parking spaces. Because in Hong Kong, this past week, set a new world record for the sale of a parking spot in a parking lot. A spot in a lot went for a hell of a lot. Poetry Thursday. Guess how much? Guess how much?
How much?
Vanessa, how much?
For a spot.
Yes.
Okay, let's speak dollars, and it has to be wacky.
Right.
I don't know.
Take a shot. Take a shot, Vanessa, on how much the spot. It cost a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna say 50,000.
Vanessa, this is Wacky World News Thursday. Would we spend our time on Wacky News Thursday talking about a $50,000 parking spot? Let's think again.
We talk about $1 million whale vomit. Like anything goes here.
Let's think again. I mean, come on, Vanessa. Take one more guess.
Am I renting this monthly? So much pressure.
One more guess, Vanessa.
Go a lot higher.
A lot higher. $1.3 million.
Wow.
$1.3 million. The parking space at the luxury.
You're up and down, so whichever parking level you want to go to.
No. You get a spot in a lot.
I'm telling you, people just be having money and throwing it. People has money and just throw it. Use it for anything.
It is 134 square foot parking space. It is in the luxury Mount Nicholson residential project. Hong Kong's luxury home market has seen record-breaking transactions as buyers' confidence is coming back. Now, the owner of the spot, Johnny Chung, previously sold 3 spaces for $969,000, but never has it gone to $1.3 million.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wacky.
Where's this this is crazy. That is super wacky. Not even gonna ask all the things I'm wondering.
Oh, I didn't know we were gonna do something about Dracula's Castle in Transylvania.
Take us there.
Had I known, I would have shown you my pictures from Brad being at Dracula's Castle in Transylvania.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I was there. But nobody came and did anything to me. It was just a castle. But right now, at Draculas Castle in Transylvania, Romanian doctors were offering a shot in the arm rather than a stake through the heart. By the way, there is a Bank of Transylvania as well. And, you would think Transylvania, that's where, Dracula's from, But I don't understand when I passed the Bank of Transylvania, why the lights were on at night. Why were they at work there at night at the Bank of Transylvania? People were working there. Why do you think? I don't know. Now, a COVID-19 vaccination center was set up at Draculas Castle. Every weekend through May, vaccination marathons were held just outside the 14th century hilltop. It's a real castle. It is a real castle in Transylvania. Those are receiving the Pfizer vaccine shot received a vaccination diploma, which is aptly illustrated with a fanged medical worker brandishing a syringe.
Oh, wow.
Brushes and cans of paint lay strewn on the gallery floor under an abstract painting, gave a pair of young visitors to a soul art exhibition at a gallery in Lot World Mall an idea. They thought this must be one of those art projects that engage with the audience. They each picked up a paintbrush, added a few dark green strokes, not knowing that the $450,000 painting was already finished. Alarmed by the defacement, the organizers of the exhibition called the police, reviewed surveillance footage to track down the couple who said they mistook the setup as an invitation to collaborate. It was not. The display of paint and brushes was part of the artist's installation. Now, American graffiti artist John One, who painted the graffiti-style piece, was initially shocked. He said, "What is this shit?" Then he told Vice World News he realized the misunderstanding by watching the video. But then the artist said in an email after the incident caused multiple global media reports. With just 3 brush strokes on my canvas, they had managed to cause a planetary buzz. There's some strength in all of this. So at first, the artist was mad. But when he got all this publicity for somebody defacing his artwork, he didn't mind it. He said, "It made me think about how in today's world we're all so closely linked, and I hope someday to have the opportunity to drink tea with them in Korea," adding that he might even thank his uninvited collaborators. The painting, titled Untitled, is estimated by the exhibition organizers to be worth $450,000, a valuation that speculators said could go up because of this unexpected incident. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.